Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It's time for NBA Fast Break Bets here with Erik from eTop21 Sports, Gino Bucola, to talk about the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. We could be seeing history tonight. There has never been a team come back from 3 games to 0, and Miami was up 3-0. Boston was the heavy favorite, and this is actually the first time I believe the team that's at home is the one that's coming back and getting the home game. So different dynamics here because all the momentum's with Boston, but Erik, kind of in the for the first time now, really the pressure has like flipped back on them, right? This is the game at home where you're supposed to win. Again, you feel like you just came back from 0-3. Everybody's just kind of penciled the Celtics in this game. Everybody's just saying Boston's going to win because of the way they won game 6. That was as excruciating a loss as you could have had if you played Miami, if you back Miami. If you're a Miami fan, they lose with 0.1 seconds on a putback after a bad Marcus Smart shot, right? You're not supposed to get rewarded when you kind of take a bad shot like that, but they got the rebound with enough time for White to put it back in. Give us some of your overall thoughts heading in from game 6 to game 7, Erik.
Well, number one, as soon as the market opens for the Denver, with the historic trend of teams struggling from game 7 to game 1, you automatically have to lock in Denver because that game is going to go on. So, I mean, that's number one. You got to lock in Denver right away after the game. Second of all, if we just kind of examine the out of bounds play, Strus did not front the ball, which the Heat do a lot of. Tatum was all the way out, completely out of the play. They used Derek White to inbound the ball. Usually in that situation, I would assume it was Marcus Smart. I was a little amazed it wasn't Marcus Smart inbounding the ball. Was Smart's shot bad? Yeah, it was bad. But the fact it came off the way it did, it almost went down. Tatum crashed the board. He wasn't boxed out by Bam Adebayo, and Strus was just all over the place. You know, it just allowed White to get the rebound. I mean, they got the perfect bounce for the situation.
And you feel like when that happens sometimes, that they're supposed to win, or maybe they're the team that is going to come back when they get a victory like that. Then on the flip side, it's just one game.
Yeah, but we need to remember, Miami was down 10 again. Boston did blow another double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. I think with how the game ended, that's the thing that's kind of getting lost in the mix.
Completely agree. I've not been in Boston coming back. It still, to me, has felt more like Miami losing this than Boston going and grabbing it. They've outplayed them, but all Boston's done now is sort of showed up in a few games that we expected. They shot really well in the first 2 games that they won, Boston did. And then they did not shoot well from 3 in the last game, but Miami was historically bad in the paint. And Erik, it wasn't even like Boston had, the greatest rim protector there dominating, or their defense was incredible. Between Bam and Butler, they must have missed 10 wide open, easy, inside of 10-foot shots.
They missed a lot of easy looks. Butler did get it going a little bit in the fourth quarter. You could make an argument that until Butler got it going, Duncan Robinson was the best player for the Miami Heat. That's at the level Heat were playing.
Well, this series, they've kept talking about it on the broadcast. This series, it's been Caleb Martin's been the best player, and then probably Gabe Vincent. Like, Jimmy Butler hasn't been quite as good throughout this series as he has in the others. And I wanted to ask you too, do you think it's an injury? Do you think it's just like the minutes wearing down? The fact that they're really kind of they're playing him a lot tougher defensively and trying to force it out of his hands a little bit more, like combinations of all of that?
I think he's tired, and I think the defenses has changed. And he's not getting enough support from Bam, because
Bam is the one that I've been so disappointed in the last few games again.
With the way it has to be played out, is he needs, how can I word this? The Celtics are going to be fine. They know that Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, even Lowry, that level they can't maintain. But they know that Bam's ceiling is really high. So that's the guy. If he can't get it going, they're allowed to focus their stuff on Butler. And you can kind of see if Bam doesn't get it going in that first quarter,
he's done.
That he's kind of a liability the rest of the game. So
I don't know if I've ever seen when there's a national narrative and people talk about Anthony Davis as a guy who goes missing or who struggles. I would just like to let everybody know that like a slight step down from Anthony Davis are the guys like Bam Adebayo.
I think that's a big step down.
Well, no, I agree. I agree. It's a bit, but like when you look at the big men in the league and AD's right up top, and then after you've got like the AD, Jokic, and Embiid group, there's a big gap between who else, like what's the next group of big men, like Towns and guys like me neither. You know what I mean? I'm not a fan of any of that next group because they're really inconsistent, exactly like we see with Bam. He has turned the ball over so many times. He has had so many good looks where he's had a small on him. He's been within 5 feet. And again, that's why when I keep watching this series and everyone's so excited about the Celtics, I really do think, Erik, that if Miami just plays well, and I don't know if they can, I don't know if they're tired, I don't know if they have it in them, they're going to win this game. They just have not played well. It's not as if Boston's been overwhelming them. Boston gets tight late, double-digit leads. They spit out over and over. If we see in the first half and Boston's up by 20 and they win this game by 20, it's not going to shock me. I still think because everybody in the world has just chalked this up for Boston, I have to do a sprinkle on the money line for Miami here, Erik. It's plus 250. Just knowing the way this Miami team is built with Jimmy Butler as their leader and with a guy like Erik Spoelstra as their head coach who's been through a lot, I think they have the right makeup. Now, mentally and physically are two different things, right? They can have the right makeup and then come out on the court and just get their ass kicked. And like that can happen, but I think in game sevens like this where there's a little bit of anxiety and everyone's a little tight, I feel like Miami's going to play better here than most people expect. And I'm riding with Miami. And you played them. You have a future on Miami, right?
Here's the thing. Like, if I didn't have the Miami future, I took them at plus 420 to win the series, I would be betting Miami in the money line. Obviously, I would lean toward Miami on the points here right now. But when I have a position of Miami plus 420 to win it all, to win this, and then when they got up 3-0, I looked at the board and Tatum was 12-1. Tatum was 12-1, was a better price than the 8-1 price that it was for Boston to come back. So hedging purposes, I was like, okay, I'll just put a little bit on this 12-1 with Tatum. And I mean, I really feel that if the Celtics win, it's going to be Tatum winning the MVP with what he's doing, or I have Miami. So I'm in a good position. If I were to bet it, I would take the Heat plus the 7.5 though, just because I feel that that's too many points in a closeout game.
Yeah, Miami will show up. Let's make some money. Also agree. So again, I'm not saying this in a completely confident way, but I do feel like the value now for these two teams where Miami's won, again, even the little things. Like we all want to jump on the narrative of 3 games in a row and back to Boston. Boston hasn't been good at home. Miami beat them twice at home in this series. Like I don't think it's as big of an advantage as it's being built into the point spread and into the money line here. Spo said book the trip to Denver. Yeah. So let's see if they can show up. Erik, the one play that you and I are both on together is the under for the full game. And you're going to go under for the first half too. This is just something we ride in game sevens when everyone's tight, a little bit of anxiety early on.
When you look at it, unders in game 7 hit a 63% rate. And we've seen it before in game sevens. We even saw it last game. The whole part of the fourth quarter, there's no ball movement. It's just complete one-on-one ISO ball. The pace really slows down. Plus, you mentioned nerves. Also, we need to mention players are tired. They've been going back to back to back.
And that's the thing about Boston, too. Keep in mind, Boston, versus Miami. When Miami got up 3-0, you could tell games 4 and game 5, Boston came out with an effort that Miami couldn't match. Can Boston now do that 4 games in a row? Because Miami's only had to do it like 1 out of the last 4 games. Game 6, they tried to get up, right? And they were battling with them. How much left does Boston have after having to try to throw everything you have at them over and over and over? Yeah, I think under, is always the safer play here. You're going first half. We're both going total.
Yeah. Plus, you got to figure it's going to be a tighter whistle. Also, just think of this, okay? There was 63 free throw attempts in the last game. 63. And they ended on 207. That's an absorbent amount of free throws. Last 4 years. 4 years. So let's shrink down the sample size. 75% of the game 7s have gone under the total. Also, it just goes back for the first half. I don't have to deal with the fouls. So I always like to bet the first half just because I don't want to get the foul game. I don't want to risk this game going to overtime, anything funky like that. So I did get them the under 105.5 as well.
Says Erik, take the 7.5. Don't bet scared. Cubs plus 110 hits. So you got the juice to take it already with a nice day for Erik. Erik, I'm going to go one more play. The only player prop I played in this game is the one guy who might be responsible for the fact that there is a game 7, Strus, who just was all over the place on that play. Like you said, he didn't really front like they sort of normally do. And he was just behind all the way. You could see he just kind of got caught in no man's land. White was the guy that he was supposed to be picking up. White sneaks in. All he has to do is be somewhat in between White and the basket. If White doesn't just have a clear lane, there's no way he gets that ball in. There's just no way. If he has to stop or adjust or go around Strus at all, and I feel like Strus will come out and play well in this game because of that. Is that enough to have Miami win?
He's going to get a ton of open looks. He is going to get a ton of open looks. Right? Just those guys are going to get open looks.
You focus on Butler, the way they're defending him, and I think he's going to want to come out and sort of let it rip and try to make up for what he feels like is a mistake. You could see he really was weighing it afterwards too. And man, that was one of the crazier endings because when you truly don't know if it's in or not, that's a bizarre way to end a game. Most ends of game, the buzzer beater, for sure. They really did have to replay that thing back to see, oh gosh, it got in with 0.1. That was right after they added at 0.9. I think the clock was down to 2.1 seconds and they put it back up to 3.
Well, everyone is harping on what's his name, Missoula. He challenged the play. What people fail to realize, if he doesn't challenge that play, they don't put 0.9 of a second back on.
Back because they don't see it. So yeah,
they don't see it. So as much as everyone wants to give him crap, if he doesn't do that, that doesn't happen.
And that's, again, another one of those things where maybe sometimes it's just the year that they come back and they're supposed to win. Who knows? Do I think they would win and go on and beat Denver? No. And that's what's sort of the concern that I would have for either one of these teams just moving forward, or like Boston, right? If you're a Boston fan, you come back from 3-0. The first time it's ever happened in the NBA. It's so amazing. You get all this energy, and then you still got to play another round, though. That's the problem, right? It's not like that. It's not like that's the NBA Finals that you won when doing it. You still got to play another round, and you've got Denver, who's been just sitting there for 9 days waiting for you, playing, honestly, so much better than every other team in this playoffs throughout. Whoever they were going to play, they would have been playing way better than all of them. Again, can Boston or Miami beat Denver in a series? Sure, crazy things can happen. But with the way they've been playing, it would still be, like, you get through this big emotional hurdle, you come all the way back, you win 4 in a row, and then it's like, oh, crap, we've got Jokic in Denver in 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, the finals start Tuesday. That's going to be a good, big turnaround. I mean, obviously, regardless of who wins this game, you guys have to lock in
Thursday, right?
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday.
You guys have to lock in Denver because that line's just going to balloon.
No, I was doing some videos for a couple different places today, so I try to look a little good when I'm doing stuff for some of the tracks that so I don't have to always rock. Because then if I'm not rocking a collared shirt, all I have is like Lakers, Dodgers, and Rams. So it's like I'm either rocking a collared shirt or I'm rocking a t-shirt for one of the teams that I root for. So, Erik, let's mention a couple of our friends. First up, DRF Sportsbook. If you're in the state of Iowa, we're offering you a major deposit bonus right now. You can get up to $1,000 deposit bonus when you use the promo code FAST1000. This is if you're in the state of Iowa, anywhere in the state of Iowa, head to DRF Sportsbook right now. Sign up, use that promo code FAST1000. Oh, there was another question, Erik, that asked you about smart. You know, I think this situation for me, at least, because you and I have played smart in a couple of these before. He's had a couple really good games so far when they've already been needing them in elimination games. I don't know if we're going to get another one here. We've already seen it happen a couple times, right? He had back-to-back.
Yeah, last 2 games. I've been on it the last 3 games. Last 2 games, he's gone over 2 of the last 3 games. Yeah. But I'm capping this to be a lower scoring game.
Overall.
So me betting on a lower scoring game, I'm not going to take someone's over props that involves points and assists because that leads to scoring.
And for me, it was a little just sort of looking at his game logs overall. The games when he shoots really, really well, because he's not the most incredibly consistent shooter, right? He's like a 33% type 3-point shooter in his career. So when I see him come off of games where he makes 4 and 4 threes in back-to-back games, the last 3 games he was 3 for 9, 4 for 6, and 4 for 11 from 3. So I think that's a little bit better than he normally is as a shooter, right? I think that might regress a little bit also. Had he been racking up big scoring games and not needing to rely on the threes as much, I'd probably play it here. But I'm a little worried that he's needed the threes and that they could regress a little bit there. Let's talk about Thrive Fantasy, Erik, as I pull up thrivefantasy.com. It is a daily fantasy website, and you can also play in all sorts of different type contests there, different formats. You can play in games against another 100 people, $5,000 in prizes, $500 to the winner. They pay out the top 25. You can play head-to-head formats, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf. When football comes back up, they'll have all different formats for football. But what we love to play are the props. You can wager on props as long as you put 2 of them together. As long as you turn it into at least a 2-prop parlay, you can legally wager on props here at thrivefantasy.com. Not only is that the case, they will give you a better payout than you would receive anywhere else if you were to play the same props in the same parlay. Better value and the opportunity to place wagers in places like Texas and in California where you may not be able to. For me, Erik, I went 2 today. I went under the Jaylen Brown. I think, he still has the nagging injuries. We think this game's going to be a little bit less overall. And then I'm going over on Strus, who I mentioned before. His is a 10.5 on the points and assists. So that was my 2 props for today. Did you have anything you were looking at over at Thrive?
I did White. It's at 20.5 right now. I locked it in and was at 21.5. The points, rebounds, and assists. Game 7, we see, a role player game 7, hard to trust. And this just goes along with it being a little lower scoring game. You look at him, the past couple games, he has struggled from the floor. I still like it at 20.5. I got it at 21.5 earlier in the day. And my last one, I'm going to go down to Caleb Martin. Don't get me wrong, he's played great, but I took the under 23.5. Still like it at 22.5 for points and rebounds. Let's just take a step back. Is he going to get 20 points and 15 rebounds again in a game 7? Probably not. I'm going to bet no. So I'm going to take the under 22.5 points and rebounds.
Game 7 today, no matter who wins, whether it's the Celtics making history, coming back from 3-0 or Miami getting the job done. I will say what this series taught us too is just from like a fan standpoint and from a gambling standpoint, you never want to celebrate too early. You never want to think your team is won or it's over or you've cashed your tickets until it's all said and done. I saw a lot of Boston fans throughout the last couple days laughing at Miami fans, basically assuming the series is over. And I just like it would be brutal to come all the way back from 3-0, 3-3. You've got a home game where you're an 8-point favorite and then you don't get the job done. So whoever loses this one tonight, their fans are really going to be feeling it, Erik. This is going to be a bad way to have your season finish.
It's going to be an awful way. And there's this, everyone has Jimmy Butler walking on water right now. How does this affect his legacy? Because let's face it, He's getting up in years. Is he going to have another title running him?
This is a huge point. You're right. He has been talked about, especially this playoff run, as carrying this team that was not very good throughout the year. And they were in a situation where all they had to do was win one more. And he did not play well down the stretch. And we can say that. And to be honest, if he played a little bit better in the first half of Game 6, we're probably not sitting here talking today.
And what happens with the Celtics? What do the Celtics do? If the Celtics lose, I mean, are they getting rid of their coach? Or do
you just say, oh, we were close, we run it back, even though we can't act like the Celtics have been great in this series or that we should be impressed that the Celtics are now tied 3-3 with a Miami team that was without Hero, without Oladipo. The one game they missed Gabe Vincent, they couldn't even dribble the ball. Like, the fact that Gabe Vincent is so important to Miami, I think still it leaves a bad taste in my mouth with like the Celtics, right? That's sort of why I've had such a hard time trusting them even tonight, which if they come out and they hit their threes early, Miami's going to be in trouble. But I don't know, man. I really don't trust this group yet. Sometimes it's just your year. They may make history.
But I mean, like also like on the flip side, so let's look at the Celtics, for example. Horford's probably retiring. Brown probably isn't going to trade because you can't afford to play him and Tatum. Like what you do is Smart then. You know, like you got Brogdon. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff going on that I just don't know.
Me too. Game 7 tonight. We'll be back on Thursday, 5:00 p.m. Eastern time to talk about Game 1 of the NBA Finals. We'll see. Miami wins. We'll be headed to Denver for the NBA Finals. If Boston wins, Denver will be headed over to Boston to play there for Game 1. Erik, good luck to you. Let's just hope we don't get a whole lot of points tonight. And Gino, we need you to start dressing like Hero. How about Hero or Kuz? One of those? Little Westbrook?
I mean, have you seen what he's wearing on the sidelines?
Yeah. Brutal.
I mean, it's kind of funny, dude. It's kind of funny, dude.
It is, too. That kind of stuff, I'm not really and I had to, for a while when I was working at TVG, I had to wear a suit and tie 5 days a week. So I have a lot of suits and jackets, and that was my lifestyle for like six years or so. But I care so little about things like fancy clothes, fancy cars, those kinds of things are just not me at all. And I know some people do, but just not me.
Team attire, like team sweats. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Like he's out here in, I don't even know what he's wearing. It's just, it was just kind of funny. You know, a couple things. Number one, Bam first bucket, you know, kind of like that. Bam does win a lot of jump balls. They'll probably look to get him going a lot. Just looking at some comments in the chat. Griffin to Bucks, I actually kind of like it just because it's not a recycled coach. It's someone new with the hit, and Giannis signed off on it. That's the big thing. Giannis signed off on it. You know, I'm going to be interested to see what happens there. You know, Griffin played in the league. I think he can help the Bucks with what they need to incorporate some of the defensive philosophies that they have with the Raptors. Nurse to the 76ers is a little interesting to me because he's a pretty intense guy completely different than Doc. That's like a completely 180 to go from Doc to Nurse. I just don't know how everyone in that room is going to take to that. Plus, what is going to happen with Harden? Harden is kind of that domino to fall. And then who do they get? Do they promote Maxey to being the number 2 guy and kind of get pieces around? Do they look to add somebody else like a Jaylen Brown or a Damian Lillard? Yeah, Philly's going to be interesting, but I don't really know how Embiid is going to take to Nurse because he's a completely different vocal coach than he's accustomed to.
Let's see who moves on to the NBA Finals. We'll talk about those NBA Finals on Thursday. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, folks. Hope you all have a great rest of the Memorial Day holiday. Good luck in all your